Welcome to the A to Z of Virtua Fighter, a series where we try to get to know the complicated world of Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, one letter at a time. Today, Z or Z, Zabantetsu. Zabantetsu is one of Shun's many stances and the gatekeeper to a number of moves in his seemingly infinite command list. There's certainly some interesting observations that can be made about it, especially for Shun players, but the purpose of this one is more to use Zabantetsu as an example when it comes to understanding the implementation of stances, states, and commands. Shun D is considered by many to be one of the most complicated characters in the game, with 240 to 260 different moves depending on how you count them, divided across 8 different stances and 3 to 4 additional positional states, with an additional complexity of having some moves and combo routes that can only be unlocked based on how many drinks he's had, which can also fluctuate based on Shun's own attacks and the opponent's attacks that can increase his drunkenness and sobriety throughout the round. Looking at Shun on paper like this can be really off-putting, but even with all this going on, if you watch experienced Shun players, you'll see a much narrower and more consistent moveset appear that features 10% or less of the aforementioned gallery of moves. That's not to say he's not complex, just less complex than he first appears. In fact, next time a Shun appears on VFTV on the main menu, place a bet with yourself to see how long it takes before the Shun brings out that Zabantetsu stance. Despite the fact that it's an entire purpose-built stance and that many moves can only be done from Zabantetsu, it's a stance that most Shuns don't use at all in their regular game plan, with the exception of using it to steal additional drinks after a knockout or on some knockdowns. The fact is that when contrasted with Shun's other low-profile stance, the Ushin, it has similar properties but with far fewer mix-up opportunities and generally weaker options. So many Shun players simply look at the two stances side by side and put the weaker one away so they've got less to worry about. Shun players not using an entire stance and all the moves behind it is an extreme example, but certainly one that you can take to apply to your own character or any character you're thinking of learning to reduce your own cognitive load. If you've got a couple of similar looking moves or are overwhelmed with options when you're at +6, just weigh up the pros and cons of what you've got, find some of the better ones and then throw the rest on the back burner until your opponent shows you a good reason to actually use them. You can reintroduce some moves at a later date when you know more about the situational application of them, or sometimes even never at all. Knowing your character isn't a matter of knowing all their moves and how to use them, if you can get the same results or better by using a few moves really well. On the flip side, the illusion of having infinite depth and application to your game plan can baffle the opponent too. So even if you don't plan on using certain things in your toolkit, showing that tool early on and then putting it away entirely can be a good way to keep your opponent distracted on the wrong things while you build your house of cards. And that's it for the A to Z of Virtua Fighter, at least for now. Thanks for checking these out. There were 2 main goals for this series. I wanted to help new players learn some of the many systems of Virtua Fighter, and for veteran and returning players I wanted it to be something that celebrated just how deep this 3-button fighting series can be. Hopefully I've done that. Big thanks to all of you for checking it out and showing your support, as well as Mike from virtuafighter.com, NG Crush and Chanshai, who all helped with the scripts, as well as some of the examples, and countless other people in the Virtua Fighter and fighting game community that have helped inspire this. Virtua Fighter has a fantastic community. If you haven't already, check out virtuafighter.com, Virtua Fighter Revival, Virtua Fighter Europe, wherever you've got a community that can help you play this game. I've never done a project this big. The next one's looking even bigger, and that's all thanks to you lot. So I'll see you in the next one.